Welcome to the Carl Jackson Show podcast, your daily dose of freedom. What is the State of the Union? The President of the United States. Oh, it is so hard to say that. Joe Biden will be giving his State of the Union address, his fourth State of the Union address, and hopefully his final State of the Union address this evening. And he is going to claim that the State of the Union is in great hands and he's fully capable of taking on another 4 years. But I'm going to offer another perspective, as you might guess, right here on the Carl Jackson Show podcast. I'm going to talk about several things, 7 as a matter of fact, to prove that the State of the Union under the leadership of Joseph R. Biden is a complete and utter disaster, from rising crime in our blue cities to the worst border crisis in U.S. American history, to the racist DEI, bureaucratic, cultural, Marxist, and revolution, to the weaponization of federal agencies under the Biden administration, to the debt and inflation costs that are eating up Americans' paychecks and their savings accounts. Also, all the way to hat tip to the Daily Signal, to the global instability and the military recruitment collapse as a result of Biden's policies while he's served as president of the United States. And then just where there's literally seems to be no return to just everyday normalcy with this administration in place. All right, so let's get to it. First, I want to start here. By the way, please follow me on all things social media at The Carl Jackson Show is where you can go to get or is where you can find me online. I'm on X, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, Truth Social, and Getter. Wherever I am on social media, The Carl Jackson Show is where you can go to find me. If you would be so kind to please subscribe to my podcast wherever you go to get your podcast, The Carl Jackson Show. If you would kindly review it, that'll help us move up the chart, so to speak. More people will be able to see the podcast. If you don't mind sharing it, if you like it, let me ask you this. Don't just like it, but actually share it with someone. I would so much appreciate that. I really do. We're in the same boat together. We're all fighting to restore our constitutional principles in our Judeo-Christian heritage and restore or save America. Trump says, make America great again. But I think we need to go even further than that. I mean, I really think there needs to be a re-education of what I shouldn't say re-education. We need to go back to old school principles and explain to people what American exceptionalism is and what made our country stand apart. So if you will help me in that endeavor, America works. It is the greatest country that God has ever given man. Our principles work, our Constitution works, and we're going to fight to restore those ideas in the American psyche. That's what we're doing here on the Carl Jackson Show podcast. So again, the State of the Union is absolutely abysmal. Let me start with some videos, and I'll read you some headlines as well. There's tons of headlines, and that I'll just go through. But for the most part, we'll stick with the 7 issues, I'm calling them, that proves that the State of the Union under the Biden administration is a complete and utter disaster. Here's video clip number 1. The nanny of New York, Governor Kathy Hochul, has announced that she is going to send the National Guard basically to start protecting and beef up security in New York City subway stations to try to protect citizens or New York citizens from the crime wave that seems to be occurring in New York City. So we'll play this video. I'm going to comment on this video. So let's go ahead and roll it for our listening and viewing audience. For those of you that are on YouTube and Rumble, we sincerely appreciate that. Let's go ahead and roll the video. Por favor, Mr. Gabe.
In New York City, subway riders are on edge.
I don't feel safe.
Crime is rising on the trains, according to NYPD data. In recent weeks, multiple violent assaults, including this terrifying moment when a woman bashed cellist Ian Forrest in the head, performing on a subway platform, the second time he's been attacked.
They say lightning doesn't strike twice, but this was a terrible moment of deja vu.
Today, New York's Governor Kathy Hochul said she is assembling a team of 1,000, including the National Guard and state police, to help secure the massive transit system.
These brazen, heinous attacks on our subway system will not be tolerated.
Teams will be stationed at the busiest and most problematic stations, searching bags. Civil liberties activists calling it overreaction and overreach. Do you think you will have an impact on weapons getting on the subway with these bag searches?
Absolutely. First of all, it's a deterrent. And if anyone's thinking of coming into the subway system with a weapon, there's probably a good chance they're going to get caught.
Mike Kemper is the NYPD transit chief. The big problem, he says, is repeat offenders.
We arrest people all the time that have 50 plus arrests, 100 plus arrests.
The dramatic moves in New York happening as 77% of Americans are concerned about a rise in crime, even though FBI data shows violent crime has been dropping nationwide since a
All right, so that's funny. So the crime has been dropping nationwide. The problem is crime has not been dropping in blue cities. Now, blue cities meaning cities that are run by Democrats. That New York City transit chief, I believe, is what his title was. Everything you need to know about the Democratic Party is summed up in literally a sentence or so that the chief said. And that is basically the people that they are arresting have been arrested, 50, 60, whatever, however many times. The problem is these soft on crime DAs that are literally not prosecuting crimes and not keeping criminals in jail in these cities. Why? Because they buy into the CRT and this DEI nonsense that America is systemically racist. But it's funny because all of these criminals that end up getting out of jail, for the most part, you know who they attack, you know who they assault, you know who they hurt the most, the poor people, the black people, the minorities. All right, in these poor communities. All right, so if you're really serious, if you happen to be a Democrat or you're considering voting Republican leading up to the presidential election in 2024, you want to know how you end crime in your city? It's really easy. It's really, 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 really simple. All you do is stop voting for Democrats. That's it. That's it. Whether you like it or not. Republicans believe in the rule of law. We believe in enforcing the rule of law. There's no doubt in my mind that sometimes prosecutors go a little crazy. They get a little ambitious. But even when you're thinking about prosecutors, let's be honest, the vast majority of prosecutors around the United States, including in blue cities, are Democrats. So if you have a problem with prosecutions, you know what? Maybe you should elect people that are going to be fair-minded. But the problem with crime is you get the same people all the time committing the same crimes. And guess what? If you don't lock them up and if you don't punish them, you're going to fall prey. So that is one area in which the State of the Union under the Biden administration and frankly under Democratic control is worse off in the United States. What do we have next? Now, we have a video of This was hilarious. So I just want you to understand you got a bunch of elite, rich Democrat elites on TV here on MSNBC, and I want to make sure I have the right notes with the video. I sent several videos that Gabe has got uploaded for me. Thank you very much, Gabe. But what is this one? All right. So in this particular video clip, you have Joy Reid says that Republican voters vote based upon race. All right. On the belief that there is an invasion of brown people at the border coming to take their jobs, want black people to be driven out of colleges. They're not sophisticated enough to vote on key issues such as the economy. So we're all racist, right? Even though it is Joy Reid that is obsessed with race. And I don't understand the cultural appreciation with the Donald Trump wig. I really don't get that. But nonetheless, this lady is absolutely obsessed with race. She thinks she's an intellectual. And quite frankly, many people on the left treat Joy Reid as an intellectual. This lady is one of the biggest racists and bigots I've seen. And it is an utter shame that MSNBC keeps her on as a host, but it also talks about or tells you what the state of the Democrat Party is. They're a bunch of racist elites. Academia, the elites of academia are now infiltrating news media. They're infiltrating, infiltrating corporations. They're within our bureaucracies of the federal government. And so you want to know why America is going to hell with gasoline draws on? You can blame it on people like Joy Reid. But here's Joy Reid calling us a bunch of racists when actually the facts don't even line up. Let's go ahead and play this video clip. And then after I play this video clip, or Gabe plays this video clip, I want to give you some new numbers based on Latinos that are continuing to abandon the Democrat Party. So let's go ahead and roll this video. Por favor, Mr. Casiano.
But Republican voters don't vote that way. They don't vote based on economics or based on the benefits they're getting economically from the president. They're increasingly, from the Tea Party on, they're voting on race. They're voting on this idea of an invasion of brown people over the border. The idea that they can't get whatever job they want. A black person got it, therefore drive all the blacks out of the colleges, get rid of DEI. That is what they're voting on. They're just voting specifically on racial animus at this stage. It isn't about economics.
No.
All right. I mean, this lady honestly, this lady exists. She exists in a bubble. That's the problem. She exists in a bubble. She went from academia. This lady went to an Ivy League school, which tells you, listen, affirmative action all the way. No, here we're not worried about race. That's the problem. All right. Or that's the problem with her. She's a racist, so she focuses on race. When most Americans are focused on opportunity and the rule of law. We don't want people invading our country because, for one, we can't sustain it economically. It is against the law. And yes, it drains resources. It doesn't matter the color of the people. What matters are the results of illegal immigration. Our law enforcement can't handle it. You have overcrowded hospitals where you have illegal aliens that are bum rushing hospitals because they don't have, health insurance. And so they use hospitals. They use the emergency room, if you will, as their health insurance. You have overcrowded schools now where you have your students, American students that speak English, are having to compete for time with teachers with illegal aliens. And how is that fair on the teacher that isn't necessarily bilingual, and you're stuffing her classroom or his classroom with a bunch of people, making it more difficult for everyone, making the teaching lessons more difficult, making it harder for the students that are there and their parents that are paying the taxes within the community, making it more difficult on those students because they're not going to get the attention they deserve. This is absolute nonsense. No other country tolerates illegal immigration. Joy Reid is simply honestly, I don't even know what to say, except this lady is completely out of touch. Maybe, and these ladies, they're all sitting there and they're chuckling. They don't understand the impact of illegal immigration, because when you're rich, when you're wealthy, you can theorize about this stuff, but they're not going to drive down the street like I do to see some illegal aliens trying to sell flowers or trying to sell fruit. And then you're sitting there thinking, where do these people go after this? What are they doing? Who's in control of them? Are these people having to pay back Mexican cartels? Are some of these women that I see out there, really pretty women sometimes, and I'm like, what do they have to do beyond this? Joy Reid, she can live in a lavish neighborhood and she can just talk crap because she doesn't have to experience that every day. And she has to pretend like she does so she can still feel like she's in touch with the, with the lower class. That lady is an elite and she does not get it because it does not impact her. But one day it will. One day it will. All right, let's go on to the next video, por favor, Mr. Casiano.
I mean, if you look at some of these exit polls, I live in Virginia. Immigration was the number one issue. Again, these could change in Virginia.
Well, Virginia does have a border with West Virginia. Very, very contested area.
Build a wall.
All right, so I want you. Trump should use this as a campaign ad. Frankly, every single Republican should use that as a campaign ad, especially if your district, your state is being impacted by illegal immigration. And let's face it, virtually every state has become a border state, although none of them are feeling the pressure like Texas or Arizona and California, obviously, right? Because they're right along the southern border. But every state has become a border state because they are flooding. I mean, you heard Governor Kathy Hochul, right? You heard Governor Kathy Hochul, and now she's having to beef up security in New York City. What they don't mention is the crime that's on the rise as well due to the illegal immigrants that are there. because these countries, Trump was right about this. They're not sending their best and their brightest to the United States. A lot of these countries are straight up emptying out their jails. And they're getting rid of the young men that they would be concerned about causing havoc in their own countries. Like, all right, let's just send them there. And they have not assimilated into our culture and into the United States of America. The left is a disaster. You know, one thing I didn't add to this list of Biden's failures as presidency, as the president, was the hatred that he stirred up. Actually, I guess it does fit in the DEI category. But look at how much this guy has divided this country. He ran on being a uniter in chief, and he's nothing of the sort. As a matter of fact, that is one of the issues. The return to normalcy. Guys, remember the day when, I mean, not that long ago, where literally, we felt like we were over the racial issues. We had gone through the Rodney King stuff and all that kind of stuff. And we would, we could watch and comment on the same TV shows, listen to some of the same comedians, listen to some of the same music, go to the same movies, go to the same churches, and people weren't sweating race anymore. And then you get this infusion of the DEI and CRT into our college campuses, into academia, and then it spreads in large part, I think, to Barack Obama, and then Biden takes it to a whole new level, and all of a sudden you get Americans that are so divided, it almost feels like it's beyond repair. It's going to take a long time and a lot of fighting and I mean fighting for biblical principles, for our Judeo-Christian heritage, for our constitutional principles, if we're going to ever turn this country around. And I'm not sure that we can. But I know I'm going to try. I know that's part of the fight. And if you're listening to this program, I know that's part of your fight. But I look forward to, a time of normalcy where you don't have to view everyone through the lens of race. I mean, that's just insane. What happened to the days when you could be, oh man, that's a cool white dude. Oh, that's a cool, you may be in a different ethnic group, but oh man, he's cool. He's cool. She's cool. Now it's like, oh no, you're automatically a racist. You're automatically a bigot. We're automatically against each other. No, free speech doesn't exist anymore. All right, if you want to believe in, that men could be women and whatever, okay, that's on you. I don't believe in that. I believe that's gender dysphoria. You know what I mean? That's actually, I know that is gender dysphoria. But I'm not going to hate you over your beliefs. But don't try to impose your beliefs on me. And don't try to impose your science fiction on me via the law, via legislation. No, it doesn't. I mean, it's just insane. Let me just. I said I was going to read through this, and I completely forgot. All right, so for Joy Reid, who's talking about that Republicans are basically obsessed with race, and we're scared of it's just idiocy. It's just complete and utter idiocy. But you know what? I'm glad she took it to that level, because more people are going to see, let these liberals talk. More people are going to see how idiotic they are. Hat tip to Vox. Vox is not even a liberal. It is a left-wing outlet. But here's, according to Vox, a new national poll of Latino voters offers some warning signs for Republicans as well as Democrats as the general election crystallizes. A sizable chunk of Latino voters appear to be willing to rethink their party loyalty. Some 19.4%, or about 1 in 5 Latino voters, say they have considered changing their political affiliation, either by switching parties or becoming independents. This, according to a national survey. A majority of these wavering voters, 61.1%, say they'd be open to leaving the Democratic Party, and a plurality, of those Democratic waverers, 38.1%. Would become Republicans, though that's a small share of all Latino. That's a small share, 38%. This is Vox trying to minimize it. So you've got Latino voters, one of the ethnic groups that Joy Reid claims that we're racist towards, saying, actually, that's the party that I want to join. And you know why? Because they love freedom. because they love America, because they love the rule of law, because many of them and their ancestors came here because they wanted the opportunities that were afforded to them because they became legal American citizens. And they're and they're family oriented, they're religious oriented, and they're tired of the cultural Marxism from CRT to DEI and straight up racism in general that has overtaken the Democrat Party. And they are concerned about the economy. They are concerned about creating a better life for themselves and for their posterity, as we all are. All right, let's move on to the next video, por favor, Gabe. This is Charles. This one is of Charles Barkley. So Charles Barkley, I thought I saw a video where he said if black conservatives were a mega hat, he wants to punch them in the face. But there's this video where Charles Barkley is on Good Morning America, and he tells a lady there, any black conservative wearing one of those shirts that Trump has with the what is that? What is that, Gabe? The infamous, good Lord, when he went to jail, the mugshot. All right. So he's sitting there saying he wants to punch black conservatives in the face. That should be a campaign ad. This stuff is going to backfire. People are so tired of the bullies on the left. This is the State of the Union underneath the Biden administration, underneath his leadership. This is Charles Barkley. These people are coming. Okay. I'm glad they're talking. I want you to understand, these people are all emotional. They have no policy positions to offer. I mean, obviously, they don't care about securing the borders, right? They don't care about free speech. Here's Charles Barkley. Let's go ahead and roll this video. Charles Barkley threatening to beat up fellow Americans. Why? Because they don't think like him. Yeah, that's American. Let's go ahead and roll it, Gabe.
If I see a black person walking around with Trump mugshot, I'm going to punch him in the face.
Charles.
No, Gail.
Charles.
Gail.
You really can't say that.
That should be a campaign ad. This is who the left is. They're bullies. Charles Barkley couldn't name one policy position, right, that's benefiting of the black community, that's benefiting Americans in general. But he knows that he wants to punch black conservatives in the face if they wear that T-shirt of the mugshot. And I listen, I got to admit, I really do think that's a stupid. I really do think that's stupid. I'm not going to lie, but I don't care if people want to buy that stupid shirt. So be it. And to some extent, I disagree with people that says that shirt endears Trump to the black community. But here's what it does. This is very interesting. I was on a space. I don't go on X Spaces as much as I used to, but I did chime into a space the other day for about a half hour or so. And there were a lot of black conservatives, and I wouldn't even necessarily say conservative, more libertarian, perhaps leaning, but they were more, just to be honest, more conspiratorial. And one of the arguments, or actually a couple of the arguments that a couple of people made that were hosting or at least speaking on that X space were, you know what, if they're coming after Trump so hard, what does he know? That was their take. What does he know? The whole arresting them. What does he know that they don't want us to know? That was their take. And I found that fascinating. And I didn't necessarily think about that. All right. But anyway, that was. What we're going to do is just show you a quick contrast. Charles Barkley, now we just showed you what Charles Barkley said recently about punching Trump supporters in the face, that black Trump supporters in the face that wear that mugshot T-shirt. And honestly, I'm sure he said the same about the MAGA hat, or he would. All right. But here's Charles Barkley, I don't know, a couple or so years ago, talking about how he can understand why blacks wouldn't vote for Joe Biden. But now he has a different job. It's weird. Let's go ahead and roll this video, por favor, Gabe.
The reason, and obviously I'm only speaking for myself. The reason I think the Democratic Party and Mr. Biden, President Biden, is losing black votes is they only care about black people every 4 years. They come into our neighborhoods and say, we're going to make stuff better. We're going to do this, do this, do this. And then finally, us black people are like, man, other than my ability to dunk a basketball, all my neighborhoods are still the same. Our schools are still the same. And that's why I think black people are leaving disappointed in the Democratic Party, because I ain't gonna lie, I voted Democratic every time just because I thought it was gonna help black people and poor people. Because black people and poor white people, they're in the same boat. And like, I didn't care who the president was, I'm not gonna lie, but I only voted Republican one time in my life, and that was for John Kasich, and I didn't even know he couldn't win. But then I'm starting to look like, man, I understand why black people are leaving, want to vote for somebody else, because every 4 years they come into our neighborhoods and say, man, we're going to make things better for you.
Well, I think
isn't it funny, too, when you think about the black plight inside of the United States of America, overwhelmingly in urban cities, overwhelmingly in urban strongholds, isn't it amazing how the Democrat Party always runs those and they don't get the criticism that they deserve? And people keep, it's the definition of insanity, right? You keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. Charles Barkley was actually making some sense there, but he still didn't connect the dots. Maybe I should stop voting Democrat because, they come into the black community, they say they're going to do A, B, C, D, and E, and then we have the same results. So maybe then the answer is to stop voting for Democrats. I don't know, and get a different result, because obviously voting for Democrats, and obviously even Charles Barkley, his vote isn't based upon results. And that is the most racist thing you can do. Actually, you're subjecting a lot of blacks to poverty. You're subjecting blacks to crime by voting for the Democrat Party. And that's a sad statement, but it's a true statement. Was that the last one, Gabe? I don't know. I threw him so many videos. I don't even... Okay, so that's the last one. Now, let me just get onto this, all right? The State of the Union. What is the State of the Union? I'll go through these real quickly. We already touched on crime. You've seen the divisiveness. I'll touch on this again. But we've got the worst border crisis in U.S. history. We've got the weaponization of our bureaucratic agencies and the cultural revolution that's taking place inside of our bureaucratic agencies. That's two. You got debt and inflation that's just jacking up the cost of living inside of the United States of America. You've got global instability as the military recruitment collapses. So let's go through them just real quickly. So we've got the worst border crisis in U.S. history. So the left, here's what the left wants to do. And hat tip to Daily Signal. They summed this up pretty good. I added a couple of things to it, but we've got the worst border crisis that we've ever seen in U.S. history, and it is completely intentional. Why? Because the left, they're racist. What they want to do is, here's what the left understands. All right, even if Joy Reid does not, here's what the left understands. That if you can bring people into the United States that don't respect our laws, more than likely what's going to happen is they're going to be dependent upon the government. They're going to be dependent upon the party that allowed them to come in to provide them free welfare, money, and all of these types of benefits. So they're going to vote Democrat. So that's racist. The Democrat Party are bringing illegals in from different countries because they know that they can use them to keep themselves in power. You had the representative in New York, Yvette Clarke, admit that. The border crisis is out of control. At least over 7 million, and I think it's way higher to be frank, but at least 7 million illegal, over 7.2 million illegal aliens that we know of, and we're breaking records literally every month. That does not include the gotaways. I'm assuming we've got 10, 11, 12 million illegal aliens that have come into our country since Biden has been there. Now, that's, again, we don't know the amount of gotaways. They're estimating I think it's a DHS estimates that it's been about 7.2 million. But the goal is to get rid of the American citizen and just create this global citizen. That's what the left wants to do. They know, the Democrats do, that the illegals entering the United States of America will never leave. All right. They know that. The vast majority of them, listen, I hate to break this to you. I want it to happen. You've got even Trump talking about mass deportation, and I do think we need to give it the old college try. I think we need to remove as many people, as many illegal aliens as possible. I'm sure you guys heard the news the other day where we learned that 320,000 illegal aliens have been flown into the country by the Biden administration in order to evade the border, being counted on the border, literally having airplanes ship illegals into or import illegals into the United States. The Biden administration is doing that. Is sick. That is evil. That is absolutely evil. All right. So the first thing that Biden did when he got into office, he eliminated all of President Trump's policies, all of his border policies. It was his first action. So essentially, he said, our border is no longer going to be secure under Trump's last couple of years. His first 2 years weren't great, but his last couple of years, he was able to secure the border, did a fantastic job securing the border the last couple of years. Biden just came in, he wiped out all of that. You had Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas bragging about it, all right? Biden also directed the Census Bureau to count non-citizens in the reapportionment numbers, which will, basically give Democrats the ability to just count bodies in sanctuary cities and say, you know what, we've got more citizens here now. So we need more representation in Congress. That's what Yvette Clarke admitted to. Jerry Nadler, both of them from New York, said, listen, Jerry Nadler said, we need these people to pick our vegetables. We do have animals and we do have machines that well, not animals, but you can use animals to help out with that. They use machines now that can pick a lot of products. Consumer products from farming or what have you. It's just absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. These people are racist. They're bigots. All right. The second thing. So we've covered the third. We've covered the rise in crime in blue cities. We've covered the worst border crisis in U.S. history. That's the State of the Union. Now let's cover DEI and this bureaucratic cultural revolution. Biden's administration has made it clear that its bureaucratic priority, no matter what cabinet department, is always going to be advancing equity, not equality. Not equality. In other words, you don't have to put in if two people. All right. One person can be lazy as hell. One person could work hard as hell. But what Biden wants to say is no matter if you're lazy as hell or if you work hard as hell, you should come up with the same results. You should have equal stuff. That's equity. Equity is not earned. It is not based upon merit. It is total. It is total. What's the word redistribution? It's redistribution of property. It is redistribution of opportunity. It's crazy, but this is what's happening. Frankly, I believe that's why Joy Reid is on MSNBC. That's why she was able to go to Ivy League school. Joy Reid listen to her. Listen, guys, listen. I believe that I'm smart, all right? I know I joke about it all the time. I don't think I'm brilliant, but I know that I'm smart. I don't think I could go to I couldn't make it in the Ivy League school. I couldn't do it. There's some people that are cut out for it. We run into them all the time where you're like, this person is smart as hell. They may not have common sense oftentimes, but they'll be absolute brainiacs. And sometimes they do have common sense too. Probably many times, probably most times. All right. But equity issues. Here's some of equity's issues that the Biden administration is intentionally installing within our bureaucracies. Obviously, you have critical race theory to promoting gender transition for minors, to obliterating American history, where you have people that are tearing down statues and stuff like that. Even the administration participating in that. There was a story today. Actually, it was on Daily Wire. Where is it? Oh, leaked files from transgender medical organizations show medical malpractice. So internal files had to Daily Wire, files from the World Professional Association for Trans Health, WPATH, which purports to be a medical association that develops quote unquote standards for transgender treatment, show members engaging in fly-by-night experimental treatments, contradicting the public line that its recommendations are governed by evidence and science. And we know that can't be the the case. I mean, this is all a recent phenomenon. The research group Environmental Progress, that's Schellenberger's, Michael Schellenberger's organization, analyzed internal polls and videos after they were obtained by Schellenberger himself. It concluded that the nominally scientific group was nothing more than an unethical activist group that existed to give cover to doctors who didn't want to be sued by allowing them to say they were just following experts' standards. Standards of care, quote unquote, is a legal term. It's not a medical term and represents, quote, the benchmark that determines whether professional obligations to patients have been met. These people are completely frauds. These people are destroying people, right? For the sake of DEI, for the sake of CRT. And it really isn't about that. It's about creating groups that the Democrat Party can keep mad. And then they tell those groups, we're for you, we're championing your causes. And the Republicans are bigots and racists and so on, like Joy Reid said, for not supporting these causes. When the truth is, no, we actually love you more. We want you to be the person that God has created you to be. And if he created you as one sex, that's because he knew when he designed you, that's what would fit you best. Oh, my. And then Biden had this executive order on DEI. Did you guys know about this? It's called Further Advancing Racial Equity and Support for underserved communities through the federal government. Man, that's a long one. Again, this executive order, further advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. It highlights how his administration is aiming to make the transformation complete when it comes to DEI. It's amazing. Christopher Rufo spoke about this. You guys know Christopher Rufo, but he spoke about this. Here's what he said. First, what Biden is doing is he's creating internal cadres of DEI officers. This is really important for shaping the culture, the personnel, and the budgeting process in the federal government, which controls trillions of dollars of public resources. Second, he's using this initiative to justify funding third-party political activists under the guise of so-called underserved communities or faith and community organizations. And third, he's doubling down on the weaponization of civil rights laws, this time with some very interesting and very modern twists. He's pushing left-wing ideology, even regulating things like the use of artificial intelligence. And this entire package is justified through this really intricate, but unfortunately widespread statistical and linguistic manipulation, Christopher Rufo writes. All right, so far, we've got crime in blue cities in absolute and utter chaos, even though the FBI shows that crime is coming down since 2020 nationally. All right. But they can thank red states for that for the most part. But blue cities are under fire when it comes to crime. New York City, Chicago, you know what I'm saying? Los Angeles, San Francisco. It's insane. Then we got the worst border crisis in history. We've got this DEI cultural revolution, this Marxist revolution that is being implemented throughout government agencies. Now, we've also got the weaponization of those agencies themselves against people that happen to love America, whether it is the by the way, the DOJ. I saw this headline on Epoch Times this morning, but the DOJ, after they took a slight pause, they're now stepping up their arrest of J6 protesters. And I mean people that were in the vicinity, not even necessarily in the building. Why? Because they need a narrative. They cannot beat Trump based upon policy, which is why I hope Trump will remain focused on policy leading up to 2024. They have nothing to say. All it is, they're going to be mean. They're going to be nasty. They're going to step it up. They're going to try to win by lawfare, by bankrupting this guy and keeping him in court so that he can't campaign, but the Democrat Party can do nothing for you. They have nothing to offer you except hate. That is it. That is the party's modus operandi. So now they're weaponizing they weaponize the DOJ against Catholics, against parents that are attending school board meetings and saying, "Hold up, wait a minute, I don't want my kids being shown pornography." And these leftists, these communists, they don't have their own kids, so they're not brainwashing their own kids because they kill them by abortions. They kill their own freaking kids, but now they want to brainwash your kids. Why? Because they can't reproduce. or they're not reproducing. So they want to steal your kids. So if you're a parent protesting at a school board meeting, you're a domestic terrorist. If you're a Catholic and you happen to be pro-life, oh, you're a domestic terrorist. Because it's so ironic, right? We want to arrest you because you don't want us to kill our babies, but because we're killing our babies, we've got to brainwash your babies. It's crazy. It's crazy. So the weaponization of the agencies, that's what else we're looking at. Then you got debt and inflation and the cost of living that have absolutely skyrocketed under the Biden administration. And listen, let's be honest about it. All right, Trump said he deserves more credit for COVID. I'm sorry. I totally disagree there. Love Trump. I totally disagree. In my opinion, he was duped. He should have never shut the economy down. That allowed, and then signed the CARES Act. That allowed Democrats to take advantage of the voting system and kick him out. They played with his heartstrings. I know he was trying to do the right thing. And at the time, even I was like, man, this Operation Warp Speed is phenomenal. But then when you start digging into the impact that the jabs had, not good. And then locking down. Now, he did encourage after some time, but not all governors. He did encourage after some time, to reopen up once he realized what was going on, but the Democrats weren't having it. By then, they were going into court. They were setting new methods to vote, ballot harvesting and all of this kind of stuff that, where they were allowed to do so because of the CARES Act that Trump signed, and they took full advantage of it. They played with his heartstrings. He can never allow something like that to happen again. But having said that, the left used the opportunity of the COVID lockdowns. They elongated it way longer than it needed to be in order to advance their agendas when it comes to voting and so on, et cetera. All right. But now also the shipping crisis that existed once Biden got in, you had Pete Buttigieg. Where is Pete Booty, by the way? But Pete Buttigieg, that was a complete and utter disaster. So you had this the shipping shortages worldwide. Remember, you guys might recall that we had like shipping cargo that was literally just setting at the Long Beach harbor, because Pete Buttigieg was such a complete and utter disaster. So you have these supply chain shortages. We're still feeling the impact of that. We're still feeling the impact of these, of the COVID lockdowns. The cost of material absolutely rising as a result of it. You got Biden talking about shrinkflation, trying to blame corporations for his policies. The truth of the matter is it's Biden. It's Biden and it's his policies. It's the Democrat Party and their policies. They spend too much freaking money. They use the COVID lockdowns in order to try to advance their Green New Deal agenda. And they've virtually done that. Thank God it's starting to fall apart. But they've virtually done that, and they put us all in worse positions. The economy is not in great shape. The only people that are returning to work are still people that have lost their jobs or lost employment from COVID for the most part. They're talking about shrinkflation, trying to blame corporations. Oh, and I've complained about this. You go and you buy a bag of chips and you notice that the bag of chips is the same size, but they only have like 1/3 of the product that they used to have, and or half of the product. That's shrinkflation. But that shrinkflation exists because labor costs are up, because products are up. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, as a matter of fact, prices paid by business and consumers alike have increased 18% on average since Biden took office in January of 2021, according to Heritage. What? So of course they've got to cut costs like all of us do, and then consider the global instability. This being number 6. Consider the global instability and military recruitment that's collapsed. Listen, let's be honest. Mostly white men join the military. That number is down drastically because the people that join the military are often second, third generation type people that are following in their fathers and their grandfathers' footsteps. But they see this woke agenda, the DEI, the CRT that's been implemented inside of our military with Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, and and it's crazy. It's crazy. And they don't want to be, a lot of whites don't want to go to the military and be called racist and all this kind of stuff when they're simply not. The mission of the military should be to kill people, kill our enemies, and break stuff. But that isn't the mission. But you had the whole Afghanistan debacle. We're going to be involved in, or Biden is going to have to deal with 2 conflicts leading up to November 2024, and that is the conflict the Russian-Ukraine war that he could have helped to prevent at the very onset. And to this day, he could come in, step in, and say, "Guys, off ramp here. Let's let's figure something out." NATO could do the same. They're not doing it. This guy's been a complete disaster for global stability. Again, the Afghanistan surrender, $85 billion or so, or approximately worth of military equipment. This guy has been a complete and utter disaster. Just a complete and utter disaster that the Taliban took. You got the Israel-Hamas war. You got Biden supporting terrorists. You got VP Kamala Harris coming out and supporting Hamas. They're not supporting Gaza. They're supporting terrorists. And all of their little lemmings are doing the same. So global instability has been just absolutely insane and on the rise, not to mention that China has been advancing from buying farmland in the United States to sending fentanyl to kill Americans inside of the United States, to sending these sear switches, also known as Glock switches, where criminals and gangs can transform their semi-automatic handguns into machine guns, or rifles into machine guns. This is insane. It's insane. This is the legacy of the Biden administration. There wasn't any return to normalcy. As a matter of fact, Biden made relations between Democrats and Republicans, relations between blacks and whites, or whites and other minorities, worse. American culture in general has slid. Again, global instability, debt is on the rise. Debt and inflation is on the rise. The cost of living is on the rise. Biden has weaponized agencies, bureaucratic agencies against us. He's implemented a cultural revolution, a Marxist cultural revolution, as did Barack Obama inside of our military installations. He's advanced the worst border crisis in U.S. history, and crime is out of control as a result of his policies and the rest of the Democrat party's policies. This is the State of the Union under Joe Biden. That is the State of the Union. Guys, let me tell you real quick, this show is brought to you by MyPillow.com. MyPillow.com, Mike Lindell has fabulous products available to you. If you want to go to MyPillow.com. Mike and his employees want to thank you, and all of my listeners as well, for your continued support. And to thank you, they're still having an overstock clearance sale right now for the best prices ever. When you use the promo code Carl, all you have to do is click on the radio podcast square. You get free shipping. You can get 50% off the MyPillow 2.0, the brand new flannel sheets that they had that arrived not too long ago. You can get a 6-pack of towel sets for only $29.98. You take advantage of the free shipping on larger items and like mattresses and mattress toppers, all made in the USA. All right, American products, American jobs for as low as $99.99. Everything is on sale, from kitchen towels that have the same technology as the bath towels that actually absorb dog beds, blankets, couch pillows, you name it. MyPillow.com. Click on the radio podcast square and hit the promo code, or spell my name, CARL. I don't spell it like the communists, all right? Or give them a call, 800-858-0263, 800-858-0263. All right, guys, I appreciate you tuning in. Don't forget to follow me on social media, all things social media, at Carl Jackson Show or at The Carl Jackson Show, X, Instagram, Facebook, True Social Getter. Wherever I am on wherever my podcast is, The Carl Jackson Show. Wherever you subscribe to your podcast, The Carl Jackson Show, por favor. Until next time, don't go where you're doing good. God bless you.